Hey everyone, William Ross here. Welcome to the Ferrari Marketplace podcast and vlog. We are here with our good friend Chris Miele, and if we can talk him into it, new co-host here and get him on the show a lot more. This episode, all the auctions are pretty much done for the year, all the big ones. We started in the beginning of the year at Kissimmee, the Bachmann collection at MECUM. We just finished up Monterey. So let's talk where the Ferrari market has gone this past year because it's gone insane. I mean, some of the numbers that everyone is seeing is just unbelievable. We got some prime specimens right here behind us that have just like gone through the roof in regards to value. We got an F12 TDF, we got A12 comp back here, and it's just unbelievable where prices gone, not just on those F40s, F50s, everything. We just seen some insane numbers. And this gentleman here can give us some great insight into that, because now where it's gone to this year, but where it's headed in the next couple of years, because it's just going to keep going up. And we can see what's influencing that and everything. But let's talk about, let's start with the Bachmann collection at Kissimmee, because that really kind of all of a sudden really set the market in regards to this year and what came to up for auction and sale.
Yeah, we had, start off the year. We'll actually go a little bit further back. Last year in June of 2025, we began to work with the Bachmann family. We did the appraisal. It was myself and two former employees of Ferrari Classic K. And we sat there for, I don't know, a week and a half, 2 weeks, a little bit less. And we took every car, we appraised them, we started to look at the market. From that point forward, the market was starting to change. The first big shot was Pebble Beach last August, 2025. The numbers started to jump. You saw obviously the yellow F50, the F40 LM, you saw a lot of big cars go off. And then it just continued to run. And then obviously through the fall, it was getting stronger and stronger month by month. We kicked it off January in Kissimmee. We did the MECUM Bachmann auction, and that just blew the lid off of it. And we had, I think, 19 world records, of which a bunch of them have been already surpassed.
Yep.
And now you go fast forward through the spring auctions and a bunch of different things. And between all the online stuff you're seeing on, Bring a Trailer, you're seeing stuff obviously with RM and DuPont have their online sites. And then obviously the auctions, and now Pebble Beach 2026. So it's really kicked off, and it's going to keep going.
It's keep going up and up. I mean, the Bachmann collection was its own unique animal, so to speak, because basically every car was one owner, owned by them. There's those couple outliers because they're a little more rare, the F50, for example. But, those really kind of put it out there in regards to that, hey, people are willing to spend that. Like that green 360 Challenge Stradale, that was an incredible number.
Yeah.
So now you're seeing, in the market this past year, Challenge Stradales are just gone through the roof. I mean, probably safe to say they've doubled in value in a year.
More, if you look at a car, the gentleman who owns these cars, he purchased a Challenge Stradale in March 2025. It's a Challenge Stradale Tour de France Blue without a stripe, rare color spec. And that car was roughing it out sub 400. Now that car is north of $1 million. So, you're up 150%. That's a
nice return.
Big jump. Yeah. It's a big.
Well, the one thing you're finding too is color is starting to play a big role in the values too, wouldn't you say?
Yeah. It's just crazy. You're watching people jump up, just hundreds and hundreds of percents on these cars. And to your point, for the longest time, mileage was the most important factor. For the longest time, it was always, hey, I have a car, here's what it is, but it has 200 miles on it. And people really were more interested in the mileage more so than the options on the car. Now that really changed. After the Bachmann collection, I saw the big change because color was everything. And there was cars in that collection that, quite candidly, were a little odd. Not something that you would normally see. A yellow car with green, a yellow car with red, a yellow car with blue. But now fast forward, obviously Phil and Martha had a great vision, because you can really see where the cars went. And some of the most eclectic cars in the collection pulled all the big numbers. But granted, they had great mileage and great provenance. Single ownership, great service history, low miles.
Yeah. Well,
and that all
full
tied-
luggage sets on all of them.
Yeah, exactly.
From Skidoni.
Stuff that you
Yeah.
never see on other cars. Everything was custom, including the owner's pouches.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was done. A custom delivery book at the factory with most of the cars. They picked them up as factory deliveries. That's not stuff that you normally see. But people are now willing to pay a lot of money for that, which you never really saw in the past.
You know, question on that regarding, because some of those colors were I would say rather eclectic in regards to exterior and interior colors. I mean, is that just that's the strength of the relationship the Bachmans had with Ferrari to be able
Yes.
to get that? Because I mean, those are. I'm sure at some point Ferrari would say, "No, we're not going to do that. That
Yeah.
doesn't make sense." But
Yeah, I
they
don't
let them
think
do it.
some of the stuff that they've done, we even talked about it after the fact. I don't think the factory would ever do again. I mean, all the Cavalinos were painted different colors. Some of them were green, some of them were baby blue. I mean, I've never seen Cavalinos painted those colors. So
Yeah.
for me, even myself looking at it as a Ferrari dealer for a couple decades, I've never, ever, ever seen that happen. So, yeah, it was interesting and it's really unique. Now you're starting to see these unique specs, and between the power of the internet and people taking a photo of their car and they put it on their Instagram page or their Facebook page, whatever it may be. Now you're seeing stuff that you never would see in the past. I mean, if something pops up on your phone and they'll say, "Hey, this car is in Germany," or "This car is in wherever." You're seeing stuff pop up.
It's what's interesting too is obviously we get the lower production stuff, like you do your Challenge Stradale, then you get into 430 Scuderia, you got your 16M, then you get your 458 Speciale Aperta. Those were the ones expected because those were the special cars, special editions, produced. But we had a conversation earlier. You brought up a really good point. Try and find a 2005 360 Modena manual car.
Yeah.
I mean, those ones also are really just jumping up in value because I mean, you used to be able to 2 years ago get a factory manual 360, 200 range,
Right.
maybe in high depending on mod stuff. Now you're 300,000-400,000 easily,
Mhm.
and if it's down that, and if it's a later
Yeah, late spec
manufactured car,
Yeah.
it's going to be even more than that.
It's anything that's rare, right? A 575 in a manual gearbox, a Super American, a manual gearbox. Anything that's unique is what's going to bring all the money. Now, if the car is numbered on top of that, that's really going to make a really unique deal. Now, if the car is individually numbered, case in point, I'm trying to think now, a 355 Fiorano, an F512M on a US spec car. Each car had an individual plate numbering it. We have both, number 1 of 100 on the 355 Fioranos. That's here in the back. We have car number 1 of the F512M. So people will pay for the first or the last car. The Bachmann cars, as you know, were the last ones on the most part.
Yeah.
Their 355 was number 100 of 100. They did not get a 350, an F512M or an F50, because there's a little bit of a story there that Phil had a little bit of a run-in with them, but so he canceled a few orders. But he would have had the last F512M. He probably would have had, obviously, for sure, one of the later F50s. But the US F50s were in the first run because of the OBD2 deal that was going on at that time.
That transition.
So he wouldn't have had the last F50, but for sure he would have had a yellow F50. For certain, he would have had a yellow F50.
I wouldn't doubt it. You see a lot of specialty dealers popping up, or I'd say in the past 10 years, whatever, in that regards are getting into these, obviously, I'd say modern collectible, classic, that genre of car. How much do you think they're actually helping drive this market going up?
Oh, they're doing an amazing job. There's a lot of guys out there that are really focusing on it. There's guys that have just an online presence on Bring a Trailer. There's guys that have facilities throughout the U.S. that do an amazing job, and not just Ferrari. They're doing other brands such as Lamborghini, even some of the other brands that are out there. They're doing stuff with Porsche, the slant noses, the flock bows, the really unique spec cars, the Carrera GTs that are in white. Most of the cars you'll see are silver, but if you see a black one, a yellow one, a red one, it's going to bring all the money. So there's guys that are just really specializing on that, and look, they've done a great job. They don't have to build a facility like this, a $25-30 million facility that has all of Ferrari's corporate identity, but they can build a very cool warehouse type space It's clean, neat, proper. They got phenomenal inventory. The guys really know their stuff at these places. They know the product inside and out. The one advantage that we have on the Ferrari side is our connection with the factory.
Yes.
So that's where we offer something that's a little bit different. And then same thing as far as the lending. Ferrari, as far as any Ferrari that's ever produced, Ferrari Financial will finance it. So if the guy's not a cash buyer, it's easy for us to get the guy financed because Ferrari will finance every car.
Yeah.
But on the history side of it, being a dealer, we spend a lot of time, or at least I do. I spend quite a bit of time at the factory, as you know. And it's easy for me to jump in and talk to the right guys, or, take a look into the archive and see, hey, this is one of 5 cars, 10 cars, whatever it may be, because that's what happened in the Bachmann collection.
Mhm.
That catalog identified everything. And that's what built the value, was not only is it yellow, and people would guess, hey, it's got to be less than 20 cars. No, it's one of 4. We would really pinpoint
Yeah, you
down
can nail it
exactly
down.
what it was.
Yeah.
And that was a big part of it.
Yeah, that's what's great, having that type of access
Sure.
to that type of information to be able to verify all that documentation.
sure.
It's great for a buyer too, because they know exactly what they're getting.
Exactly.
It's not just hearsay,
Right.
someone saying it, or previous owners. Oh yeah, it's that. But you have it verified. Oh no, trust me. It's especially when you talk with the money you're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, you want to know, right? You don't want to say, hey, I have the only one, and then some other guy shows up at Pebble Beach with it, and it's a big deal. The car that one car comes to mind, it's not here now, but it's the owner of this car right here. He has an F512M, and it was the first one off the assembly line that wasn't red, and it's white. And they only made 2 white ones in left-hand drive. And it was the feature car in the previous edition of Cavallino magazine. And at the time, we saw the car, I heard about it. It was delivered originally in, I believe, Amsterdam. And it went through Germany and then made its way over to Japan and then finally back to the US since 1995. So it had a little bit of a journey in 30 years. But it's amazing the offers that have come to us on that car. Again, 2x, 3x, from where he purchased the car at. And, even him, he's still saying, what do you think I should do? Normally, if you buy a house for X and some guy comes in, hey, I'll double your money. Not everybody wants to move out of the house. They're not saying, hey, this may be my dream house. I'm not looking to leave. So, and as you know, when you say no, everybody starts to chase it then.
Oh, yeah.
Well, everything's got to be for sale. There's got to be a number.
Yeah.
So that's what starts to drive the market as well, because not everybody's looking to sell. There's guys that are looking to collect. There's people that are out there that are, there's funds out there. There's hedge funds. There's people. Wall Street started to look at it and say, hey, there's real returns on these cars. And people have made plenty of money. Including the dealers, including the individuals, including the sellers. Everybody's doing well. And it's not that we're in a spike. There's a lot of doom and gloom out there. People saying, oh, this is good, this
everyone's saying, where's the bubble?
Yeah. And, just if you look alone, just between, ChatGPT, SpaceX, and Anthropic, you're talking about well north of $1 trillion of money that's coming in. And you look at the people, they're between 24 and 34 years old on the most part. The cars they grew up to are these things.
Yep.
These were the poster cars that they grew up to. So they're bullish on them. And the supercars were the Enzos, the LaFerraris, the F40s, the F50s. That's the stuff that they want. And, when you hear the numbers, and I've been obviously fortunate enough to have clients that are in that exact space, and, the amount of money of the checks going out, to me, are just, they're mind-boggling. People are getting checks, not 1,000 people, not 2,000, 10,000 people getting checks for $40 million or more. I mean, they're big numbers.
Yeah.
So, when you hear that, it's not the end of the world for the guy to say, hey, let me rip out 10% and buy myself a couple
I reward
cars.
myself. I earned this, and
Exactly.
they get it. And God bless them for it. That's fantastic.
Exactly.
Not to mention, the $120 trillion transfer of wealth that's going to be coming to whatever it is. There's a lot of money going to be influxed into the market, so to speak, where people are going to want to get that car they had on their post because they can afford it now and
Yeah,
get it.
It's a heat wave, right?
Yeah.
It's not a spike. It's a heat wave. And it's going to stay hot for a while. Look, every time there's a heat wave, even in real life, I mean, there's a storm,
Yeah.
but it doesn't totally drop down to 5 degrees. You know, it'll cool off a little bit.
Yeah.
There'll be the ebbs and flows like there always is. But, you know, people are seeing, as far as investments, as far as artwork and precious stones, a lot of other things have changed. You know, you see the auction houses, especially Sotheby's, and you see Christie's and the big guys, you know, the watches and what have you. Their things are still hot, but the car market now has entered that space. And when you start seeing the powerhouse guys in the world, you know, the Ken Griffins and these other big collectors that are out there that are saying, hey, you know what? I've been collecting art. I've been collecting, you know, paintings, whatever, sculptures. Now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get into these because they are art and they are
Yes.
sculptures in their own way. And there's a lifestyle component to this. You know, when you get a painting, obviously, or you get a sculpture, whatever it may be, it's in your home, it's in a room. But, you know, there's a lifestyle component. If you want to take it, you want to take it to a show, you can go ahead and drive it. You can take them on cavalcades. You can do so many different things. There's a whole nother element to it. And, you know, candidly, a lot of the people that I've met, and I'm not talking about the cars that are 30, 40, $50 million cars. I'm talking about cars like this. If somebody gets into the car and they know, look, I'm going to get it and it's not going to 0 or some low number, I'm going to have the car. Even if there's a little bit of exposure as far as money, they get all the other things to it. Get to go to whatever, Pebble Beach, cavalcades with Ferrari, you know, different events in Europe. And they want to enjoy life. And that's what people are starting to do. So you're starting to see different companies with different events getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Canosa is one of the ones that comes to mind. And they're doing events globally now.
Yeah.
So it's not just, you know, they had, you know, the Middle East and Abu Dhabi. Now they're going to be bringing one. They're going to be announcing in Asia. They're going to bring an event. You know, they have events here in the U.S. They've done, you know, cavalcades. They work closely with Ferrari. But it's all over the place. You know, pretty soon you'll start to see, you know, markets that are people never thought of going to. Patagonia. You know, they say, hey, you know, I'm not so much of a hiker. Hey, they're going to do a Ferrari event there.
Hey, let's go.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, it's only a question of putting the car, you know, in a container or on an airplane and shipping it.
Yeah, it's a ticket to get you into a lot of cool
but it
events.
opens, obviously, with purchasing the car.
Yeah, it opens up a lot of doors. Well, then not just for that vehicle, but for subsequent down the line too, because it's just you meet a lot of great, interesting people, and just all with the same mindset.
Absolutely.
And all with the same thing going on in their heads, which is always just fun and exciting to do. So let's talk Monterey. We're not going to talk about Duluth today. That's a whole different animal. I'm not even going to get into that. Let everyone else talk about that. But outside of that, what was your, I guess, say most eye-opening that was there that went across the block Ferrari-wise that you thought was like, wow, that really opened your eyes to say, wow, I didn't think they were going to go there? Or it's like, no, that's about what I thought because where everything's going. Is there anything that really stood out to you?
You know, what I started to focus on, you know, I went through the catalogs and I was going through and looking at some of the cars and, you know, they send you all the catalogs prior to going. And look, cars did the big numbers they did within their estimates. So, you know, that's good and, you know, pleasing to see. I mean, I went to obviously RM. I looked at the cars that they had. I went to Gooding, MECUM. I went to Bonhams. I went to Broad Arrow. I went to every single one of the auctions. And what I found is the unique cars, meaning low miles, unique spec, meaning color combination, they're the cars that are going to bring the money. I mean, the provenance on the car obviously always helps whoever did the restoration. If it is a restored car, that obviously adds to the value. But certainly you're seeing that old car market. It's not going down, but it's just kind of level and just kind of leveling off. It's just running steady. And then you're seeing these cars from what I call, let's even say from really the 90s forward, they're super hot. And if the car is a unique spec, a 355, a 360, a 550 Maranello, if it's in a unique spec, and then you start to drill down on it and everyone's like, I think they probably only made a few of them in this color. And then, you know, I dig into it and say, well, this is the only one. Now, what's it worth? It's it. It's the only one. So once you get into what I call it's on one hand, it's less than 5 or less, that's when you're going to start to see that those are the cars that really demand the big premiums. And those cars, they showed up and they were doing the numbers.
That they were. I mean, it was, I was following online watching those, and it was, I mean, one side of it, it's great to see because a lot of these vehicles, hey, they're finally getting what they're worth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just interesting to see people's reaction in the room too for some of these, because some people are just like, "Oh my God," but then other people are like, "Yeah, that's what it should be at
Right,
now."
exactly.
It's interesting to watch all that. Just it's also to see people's reaction on that stuff too.
Yeah.
When you're going to those auctions, you basically went to all of them.
Mhm.
So how do you look at it? Are you looking at as a buyer? Are you looking at just, hey, I'm just seeing what the market's doing? I mean, are you kind of doing a little bit of everything? Because depending on what's crossing the block. I mean, what's your goal when you hit all these auctions?
If I'm not buying the car, I try to get as close to the front as I can. Because when you spin around and you look at the crowd, you can obviously get a really good view off of the reactions. You can hear them, but there's a lot going on in the auction, right? When you look at it from the other side, if you're buying the car, I tend to stay super stealthy if I'm on the car.
Yeah, you're pretty prominent. People know you and they see you. You're like, uh-oh.
Yeah, I kind of stay stealthy if I'm buying. But yeah, I mean, there's no doubt. You can see it from both sides, from the buyer side or from a dealer side, is what I call it. The auction side is the auction side. Obviously, their job is to sell the car for the seller, get the most money they can for the seller,
Mhm.
because obviously that's best for them because they're in for the fees. That's the ultimate goal for them. They represent the seller, so they got to get as much money as they can. The flip side to that is, as the buyer, as you know, you're trying to buy the car for the best price you can, but it takes two to tango.
Yep.
Right? So when you start to see it going on and you start to see the price running up, and you got to get a feel for who's in the room. So if I'm buying, I'll usually scope the room earlier and see who's sitting and who's in the room. And then you can kind of get an idea of who is the potential competition. But you never know. There could be somebody that's a phone buyer, so you just don't know. But you can quickly see by the way it's running up and how the auctioneer is handling the bids that are coming in. If it's starting to run super, super quick, then, either you got to roll up your sleeves and be ready to go, or you got to say, okay, I'll go to my number. And if it goes higher, it is what it is. So, but, I didn't hear, at least for the people I know, most of the people got the cars that they wanted. And if they didn't, they pushed to their number and maybe then some. So that drives the market. But it was always on, to your point, super low mileage car. It wasn't a really rare car.
Mhm.
Like, let's use the case of a 550 Maranello. They made a bunch of them. It wasn't like a super rare car, but the ones that did all the money were unique spec or unique mileage, super low miles. It was one of the two.
Yeah, because there's some ones that sold very, very well.
Mm-hmm.
You purchased one of them.
Yeah.
A stunning, stunning car.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see that in another video, by the way. So stay tuned for that. So your word, heat wave. Is it still going to be a heat wave for a while longer? Do you see it tapering off and to be tolerable? You still see it's going to keep increasing?
It's going to go for a while, for sure. Yeah. We saw it before Pebble. I mean, even last year it started. We saw it starting to build. And I have a spreadsheet, and I could share it with you, when we were doing the Bachman collection.
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing, every 10 days, we were doing an update on, people were calling us. Once it got announced, hey, I'm willing to offer you this for this car. I said, look, it's part of the auction, and this is, I'll offer you this. So I would just take the notes. We have 46 cars.
Yeah, you see what? Yeah.
So people were calling us nonstop. MECUM was getting the calls as well, but there was a lot of people because it was jointly, it was a joint venture between MECUM and us on the catalog. And there was people ringing us and, social media every time they post a video. But I definitely got 12 to 15 calls a month. So call it 3 calls a week.
Is that common People trying to snag it.
Yeah, they're trying to
before
get
the-
it,
before it
and
crosses
say,
the
look,
block.
I'll offer you this much. And then the numbers started getting like really big, especially on the real unique stuff. The F50, the Enzo, the 599 GTO, the SA Aperta, the 458 Speciale Aperta. You started to see the numbers start to come in. And then when the catalog came out, it started to go crazy. Because then it was, hey, this is the last one that was produced for the USA.
Oh.
This is the last car in the series. This is the last one off the assembly line on some of the 328s, the very last one produced for the US. That 348, that's 600,000 plus. And as crazy as that sounded,
I couldn't believe that.
there was one that was in the fours with a bunch of miles in Pebble Beach this past week. So stuff that we saw that we said, hey, you'll never see it. Or bigger picture, the numbers that we saw during COVID. COVID made sense, right? You were saying, okay, well, the factories are all closed. They're not producing cars. It wasn't doom and gloom, but it was doom and gloom.
Yeah.
The world was coming to an end. It was a whole different thing. And cars were doing big, big money globally. And we said, you know what? That was a moment in time that's something we're never going to see again. It's happening. And even somebody like me who said, wow, that's just the monster numbers that we're seeing. Then, we come out of that in 2020. Let's say we were totally out of it by 22 and things started to reset. But, now when you watch it and you look at how the cars are resetting, you could see quick identifiers. Anything that's numbered in the Ferrari world, at least.
Yeah.
This car, that car. If it's numbered and it's in a unique color combination and it's got great miles, it's going to do the numbers. And it's just continuing to go up. The wind is behind these. I don't want to say that the old stuff is a different situation, but there's a big gust of wind between these. If you look at, let's just say, a regular car from let's say like even a common car like a 575 Maranello, not a manual car, a standard 575, and they were all standard as an F1. Those cars a year and a half ago, they were between $100,000 and $130,000. They've tripled.
Yeah.
So now you're looking at them and you're saying, okay, these are coming up in that $300,000 neighborhood. And if it's a really unique color combination, not a red one, not a black one, not a silver one, and it's super, super unique, it's going to bring all the money. We have 3 Super Americas here, 575 Super Americas. We have a common one, right? A common color one here is this Rosso Corsa one. But we have a Nero Daytona one, and we have a Rosso Barchetta one in the back. They're rare colors, and they have super low miles. And anything that's rare, people are offering you big, big, big money to get those cars because that's what they want. So color now, what I've seen, it's always been there, but they're more interested in the color of the car than they are on the mileage. And it never was like that. First, they would say, hey, tell me about that car. It's a great looking car. What's the mileage?
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a different conversation initially. I love the color. Hey, by the way, what's the mileage?
Yeah, that's the first question. Yeah. What the color?
It's just the tone, the initial conversation has changed, and we've all noticed it. Everyone says it. And now when Ferrari went fast forward, if it's an Atelier or tailor-made car on a numbered car, it's a big number. Now, like on this car right here, it's an A12 GTS. On an A12 GTS, if it's tailor-made or Atelier, I've seen cars advertised for well over $1 million.
Yes.
And not that long ago, they were $600,000.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not numbered. They're somewhat rare, but they're still, range cars, production cars. But if you have one that's rare, meaning it's a tailor-made car, super unique spec, people are focusing in on those cars, and they're willing to pay all the money for them.
You think that's changing the buyer demographic somewhat because the way these things are getting priced? I mean, because, someone that's striving to buy the first Ferrari, used to be had to get a 360, 430. Now it's going to have to drop down to a 308 or 328. Now, is that going to either strengthen that market or weaken it because they're like, I kind of wanted something that was, I say newer, but more they're familiar with?
I would say strengthen it because, look, if you're going to go buy a new 12-cylinder and you equip it very well, it definitely starts with the number 7.
Yes.
So why would you not take a look at, I mean, again, let's say you want to get into a Ferrari and you say, hey, a 575 Maranello, a 2005 575 Maranello, loaded up. That car was around $250,000 when I was selling them new. And now they were at $250,000 for the longest time, or even below that. They were in the ones, as I just mentioned.
Yeah.
Now people are willing to spend $300,000-$400,000 depending on the spec. And I still see those cars getting stronger because somebody says, you know what, I really like the new car, but I want an older one. You saw it very, very common, as you know, in the Corvette world. There was guys that grew up and said, listen, I want a Stingray Corvette. I want a C2 or I want a C3.
Mm-hmm.
Anything from 63 to, really I call it really went up to 1981, but anything that was in those big block era cars. And you would see people now that just want those cars. And that market has gone way up and obviously way down. But and they made a ton of those cars.
Yes,
I mean, it's not like super low production,
Wow.
hundreds of cars. So if it happened on cars that they made tens of thousands of cars, now granted, certain cars with a Z06 package or whatever it may be on those, they bring all the money, L88s, what have you. I get it. But for a long time, you would see some of those Corvettes bringing big money in comparison to what their original MSRPs were.
Yeah.
Well, now you're starting to see it on these cars. So I don't know. I think it's going to keep going. That's I just think.
Well, these two, I mean, I would have to venture to say, I mean, what were the TDFs was what, 4 point something was the high mark in Monterey?
They were in the 4s.
Yeah, I mean, and this was not far behind it. It used to was flipped.
Yeah,
that's actually surpassed it.
Correct.
In regards to market value. And
harder to find, and they made 2 different versions of this.
Of the comp?
Yeah, so they made a comp aperta and they made a competizione. So and the same thing happened, the unique thing that, use it for example, they didn't do it on the Pista. The Pista, they were limited, but they had the Pista Coupe and the Pista Spider. You see where they're at.
Yeah.
I mean, one just sold this week for almost $3 million on a Pista Spider. Super unique spec. Really, really, really super cool car. Only one I've ever seen like that. Green with an orange interior. I mean, it looks like a University of Miami spec, super cool. But yeah, I mean, look, a car like that, you're hearing numbers, that are what I call, in the stratosphere.
Yeah, that was interesting with, that transition, obviously from the 458 to the 488, obviously going from NA to the turbo. There was a drop there for a while because everyone's like, no, I want to say unloved. Mm-hmm. But it really wasn't, I would say desirable either, but people liked the car. Mm-hmm. But they were down there. It's like you could get it for a decent price. But now even the 488s, F8, everything's, those are even going up in regards to
you can have a red Pista. Regular car, 5,000-6,000 miles, not super low, not crazy. And let's just say it has no stripe. They made so few cars without a stripe at all, just one solid color. There's guys who just chase unique specs. That's what they want. Just want a car that's unique, no stripes. Most of these had a stripe. Yeah. Most of these did not. But on these cars, you'll see it. But if you get one without a stripe on this or without a stripe here, unique specs, people will go ahead and grab them. It's just a question of what's out there. The one that we have downstairs doesn't have a stripe, but it's got those really cool dream lines on the TDF. It's just a matter of what's out there. And it's changed a lot, Yeah. Remember, this car was launched in 2015, and then the production was 16 and 17 for these. It's 10 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's 10 years.
It seems like it's just yesterday. A decade has gone by. And they've built their department so much bigger at the factory to do hand-painted shields, really
Wow.
cool stripes, dream lines, different things on the cars. It's changed so much that I call them catalog cars. So if the car has everything on it and it's not too busy and it's not gaudy and it's not, crazy, done, very, very, you know, uh, classy, they're bringing all the money.
Think Ferrari was hesitant or reluctant to kind of start going down that path, or they embrace it, you feel,
They
because
embraced it. I think initially it was something that was for special customers, but now it's such a big part of their business. It's massive. It's just such a huge part. The dealers are putting in these atelier rooms. Dealers now are, bringing customers constantly to Italy, to New York, in our case, in the US, to the New York showroom to do these atelier and tailor-made sessions. It's growing quite a bit. And it started off initially as something not that big. It was a very, very small setup that was done in Italy. Elena Fontana, she's still at the factory. She does the special sales. She works there. But it was initially, she was at what they call the earlier version of Atelier, which became now Atelier's there. And now they have TaylorMade. And she was part of that initial team to start that up. And that was back 15 years ago when they really got that thing. They were starting to get it winding up and getting it going. It is a massive part of their business. I mean, massive.
when someone goes through the TaylorMade program, obviously you got to be a special customer to be invited to be able to do that.
No. You don't
You don't have
to
to be
No,
invited.
No.
You just got to ask.
Yeah. I mean, if you just say, hey, listen, I want to do a really unique car, you have a build spot to do whatever it may be, let's say a 12 cylindry, and you say, listen, right from day one, I want to do a really unique car. I'm in the blue jean business, and I really want to do, I want to do a white car, like what I'm wearing, with denim interior. Yeah, sure. You could do something really cool. Atelier is different. It's more the common things that you would see, the common leathers. But once you get into TaylorMade, you can do whatever you want. I mean, it's really, if you want to use fabrics from a suit that you have, Laura Piano's fabrics, whatever you want to do. I want to line this. I'm in the clothing business, whatever it may be. Everybody has a different spec. Well, I've seen women do it all the time with a nail polish. I want to do something for my wife. She likes this red. It looks, like I said earlier, there's over 150 shades of red. Look, you can commission your own color. I've seen that happen pretty often. But listen, there's literally thousands of shades. I mean, really, there's just so many total. That's just something that if you really say, look, this is my company color, it's unique. This is a color of, and it's always something that was from somewhere else. This was a Nassau blue Chevrolet General Motors color of my dad's first Corvette. He'll take the color swatch and look, and there's something that's almost identical. They can name it, Williams blue. You know what I'm saying? You can come up with your own blue. You can come up with your own.
I like the sound of that.
But come up with something cool. You can do that. You can commission your own color. It's a while. They got to do all the feasibility testing. They got to do a lot of stuff to do it. They don't just mix it up in a jar and say,
here you go.
But yeah, you can do that. There's a bunch of things you can do.
How do they feel about someone that, they goes through that process and obviously spend the time, get unique, but then 3 years later, 2 years later, they see the car for sale? I mean, it's kind of got a...
I mean, there's pros and cons to it, right? So the pros are, if the car goes out there and does a big number, that helps promote it, right? Say, hey, look, this is why you want to do it. I guess, look, there's a little bit of a love, and I know that, I think it's worse. I look at it a little bit different. It's a little bit different if you're like, let's say, a construction guy and you're a home builder. You sit with a family, this is our dream home, and unless they came under financial hardship, they just sell the house and they flip it for all kinds of money. Meanwhile, you remember all the meetings and everything, the customization. I want this, I want that, I want, these different types of crown moldings. And then they just sell the house, right? I guess there's part of you that's like, all right, maybe they were just in it for the money, or they got a deal they couldn't refuse. In the automobile business, you're not talking about a one-off house. You're talking about, literally thousands of cars that get made a year. Ferrari makes nearly 15,000 cars throughout the whole lineup, of about, let's call it 25, 30% come to North America, roughing it out. And you say to yourself, okay, then you break it down by model. So how many are for this, and then how many go to each market? So some markets get more cars than others. It's obviously not an equal split. And then you say to yourself, okay, you talk to the dealer and you say, look, whatever they come out with next, I want to do this. And then, the customer says, okay, I'm in for it. It's good to take them over. I go over almost every month. So I've taken plenty of people over and they've said, look, I'm doing this. I want to build a custom car. This is what I want to do. And they do it. And it's been really cool. And it's fun to see those projects. But I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think that they ever get upset. Sometimes they see him again. They said, hey, how's that car? They're like, I traded it in. I sold it. I think the more important thing is that it gets sold through the network if they're trying to build their status. If a guy takes a car and he says, look, I want to be a top customer, and then he takes the car and he runs it at an auction, I'm talking about a new car, not a used car.
Yeah.
If you purchased a used car, let's say a 550, and then you sell it again at an auction down the road, you didn't buy it new through the dealer, and you didn't sell it. But I tell everyone, it's good to work with your dealer for a couple of reasons. One, Ferrari has their profile, and everybody has a profile, and they, monitor everything that you do. And the more you do within the dealer network, the better you are. I mean, it just helps. It's an algorithm, and it just, it helps track and show that you're engaged. But it's not the end of the world if you don't. It's just that when a new car comes out and they say, hey, I really want to get on this list, you got to hook me up, which I hear all the time. And they say, look, I got 20 cars. And then I look at the profile and I say, yeah, you purchased 3 of them in the dealer network. So I didn't write the rules. It's not my rules.
Yeah.
But that's how you'll be evaluated. What did you do within the dealer network? So, you kind of got to educate the people ahead of time. As they're doing things, you keep them informed. And the good dealers, the good Ferrari dealers, know how to manage their clients really well. Mm-hmm. They're really good at doing it.
You would think you'd want to buy it through the dealer anyways. Standing behind the car.
I use the Rolex analogy all the time, or a Patek. If you're going to go buy a Patek Philippe for whatever money it is, couple $100,000, I don't know. I don't know if I'd feel really comfortable buying it online. If it was from a dealer, yeah. But
yeah, because you don't even stand behind it.
Right. You just don't know,
Wow.
And I'm not saying on a watch, it's a different thing. A movement's, I don't want to say it's easy to switch, especially on some type of tourbillon or something. And, you're not going to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about like a regular Submariner, like Rolex Submariner. You see these horror stories on these reality shows that they open the watch up. Oh, it's not a real Rolex movement or something.
Falls apart in the water.
The face isn't genuine. It's an aftermarket face.
Yeah.
These are all these different things that they have as security features in there. I don't know. I mean, I watched a program when we were out at Pebble Beach. I was flipping through the channels. I saw it. They have these diamonds now that are man-made, lab-grown diamonds. And, for the longest time, the documentary was about how diamonds they weren't nearly as scarce as they were made out to be. They were just controlled by this consortium of people who, whether it was the Harry Winstons, the Bears, whoever it was, that diamond's really hard to get, and they would set the market. And now they have these lab-grown diamonds, which are real diamonds. They come with a real GIA certificate. They have everything with them. I can't imagine that business doing well now when they have another diamond that looks identical to it, and it's a real diamond. The watch analogy I was giving you is that's not really a real Rolex. So why would you go ahead and buy something online or you don't know? And whenever they bring it to an authorized dealer, that's when they find out. It's different with these, but in the sense, the only time I've seen it is when the car gets inspected, then they find out. They're like, oh, it was painted? Yeah, it was repainted. And they're like, that they told me that was factory paint. And, we're a little bit different. When a car comes in, we record the paint readings on a car. We use the same meters that we use when we inspect them as when we take them in. So when we look at it, we say, okay, here's where your paint meter readings were from day one. Okay. And here's the car here 3 years later, and it was sold to this guy and that guy. And, here it is back to us. Here's the paint readings. Now we know that there's a delta here. Yeah. So this was definitely painted. And then, okay, so what's it worth? And it's, like I said, it's no different than having the watch or a Picasso. if you had a Picasso and, you know, my nephew was there firing his darts one day and he's putting a couple holes in it, and, you know, we patch it up and we make it look perfect. It may, to the naked eye, to an amateur, say, hey, it looks perfect. It looks good.
Yeah.
But an expert looks at it and goes, hey, listen, a perfect one's worth whatever the number is, 10 million. This one's got a story. It's been repaired. It looks perfect, but it's got a story. It's definitely not worth more. It's worth less. It's definitely not worth the 10 million. If it's got a story, it's worth less. And that's what I tell everybody. If you're going to buy and invest in one of these cars, make sure you get a proper inspection done on the car. You know, that's a lot of things what people buying cars online, they don't know. And I've seen it quite a bit online with a lot of the online platforms. The cars come and they're astonished. And there's all types of disclaimers on there. It's a used car, you know, but it's a challenge.
Yeah, like, you know, Bring a Trailer, all those ones I like. Well, and like Carvana too, to the extent is I can't imagine buying a car, spending, you know, even buying a Honda or buying a Ferrari, you know, you're getting into that price bracket, not going physically, seeing the car, touching the car, doing anything, you know, doing paint readings on it, hearing it run, drive it if they let you, you know. That baffles me that people spend that kind of money. You know, even, it doesn't matter, and even if it's from another dealer, stuff like that. I mean, what's written there, people will say whatever you need to hear to get you to buy that car. You know, and again, that kind of goes back to buying from an authorized dealer.
And most of the write-ups are AI generated.
Yeah.
You know, when you see them, they all sound the same. But, you know, you said it perfectly. You know, buying a car, like even if it's a Honda, outside of buying your house, it's probably the second largest, you know, purchase you're going to make on a normal car. And when you get into this world, again, this isn't a Honda or a Toyota or even, you know, any American product car, Ford, a GM product. That's, like I said, that's a need. You know, I need to get a new car. My wife's got to take the kids to school. We got to go food shopping. I got to get to work. She's got to get to work. That's a need. This is a want. You're selling on emotion. So, you know, I get it that they're scarce, and I get it that, you know, they're hard to come by on certain ones. But I always tell everybody, if you find the car that you like, go ahead, get a deposit. Make sure it's obviously refundable, pending a PPI, a pre-purchase inspection, and get it done. And, you know, get the car inspected by an authorized dealer, somebody who knows what they're doing. Because I can tell you now, I've seen more horror stories than you can imagine in the last 5 years. There's so much going on social media and so much going on the internet and these online platforms that they buy the car. Nobody told me that this car was painted or this fender was replaced or this car was in, you know, people run a Carfax. They say, hey, the Carfax is clean. That's not always accurate too when you buy a car, especially if you buy a car that's a European car that was imported more than 25 years old. You know, they don't have Carfax.
There's no record.
So, you know, the car comes in and they look and they're like, you're kidding me. I said, no, I'm not kidding you. Where'd you buy the car? And it's always one of the things I just discussed. So
I know, Basil, you spend that kind of money in that car. Why would you not spend the $2,500, $5,000 on the car to do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, you're not getting it back as done, but would you rather spend the $5,000 or are you going to spend $500,000 and find out it was in a wreck or it's been, you know, something that wasn't disclosed? What would you feel more comfortable doing?
And I've seen some guys even make it as part of terms of the sale with the person they're going to do it with. They say, hey, listen, I'm going to do this. I just want to send down my guy. If it doesn't check out, it's on me. I'm making the investment to do it. I'll eat it.
Yeah.
But if it does check out, let's work it out in the price. And the guy would say, look, I'm going to knock off $5,000 off a deal. That's almost like a given.
Yeah.
If they really want to sell the car, you got to do your due diligence. So it's usually a lot of times, if it's the right car, it's a net zero, unless the guy's hammering the seller down, you know, and they're down. What I say, they're below the surface. You know, they're really hammering it out. But yeah, you know, just work it out.
Now, you made a statement about European cars. You know, how is that? Because obviously the European market compared to the American markets right now, especially, is completely different.
Completely different.
I mean, do you see the European market catching up to where the U.S. market's at?
You would think it would, right? But, and look, I've always said I'm a bigger fan of the European cars than the U.S. cars. And if the car is 25 years or older, you just pretty much bring it in. If it's less than 25 years old, it's a challenge. It's not easy to bring in. You may have to get the car federalized. Some guys go in on show and display. Some guys kind of wait the clock out, and they wait if they're close to the 25 years. But there's a bunch of different ways that you can do it. The European market's really unique. And the further that you go, and if you get into the Middle East, you go to a place like Abu Dhabi.
Yeah.
I mean, you see what's going on in the Middle East right now. There's a war going on over there. It's kind of settled down a bit, but you never know. It could start up tonight. So you're looking at cars like these doing substantially less than what they're doing here, but you can't buy those cars and just bring them in.
No.
There's no way to do it.
Yeah.
If you look at an Enzo is a really good car to use. Enzos were produced between 2002 to 2004, but there was some late model ones that were produced as late as 2005, 6, and 7.
Oh, really?
Yes, there was Enzos that were built very, 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 very late. And when you say that to somebody, you got to check the production date, because if it's built in 02, an early car, next year, 2027, you can bring that car in. But if the car was built in late 04, even, some cars into 05, okay, now what are you going to do? 25 years, you're out to 29 or 30 on those cars.
Yeah, you're parking a lot of money.
So you're parking a lot of money, and you can't do it. But there's some guys that are like that. They're like, look, I'm just strictly in it for the collectability part of it, and I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to let the car sit. And I get that. If that's the deal, car's got to sit in a bonded warehouse, see it in 5 years.
Yep.
That's the deal. But everybody's different. So, there's a little bit of an, interview process when you first meet somebody. Like, what are your goals? Guys are always so quick to just get the guy in the car. It always comes back to bite you.
Oh,
you got to sit down, you got to sit and talk to them. And I like to talk, as you can tell.
Well, you want the people to come back to you.
Yeah.
That's one thing too, is, it's building that trust
Yeah.
with that client, that customer, because they're buying from you.
No, absolutely.
That's the thing. And it is, and if you steer
Something
them
goes wrong, they're coming to
yeah,
me.
and I always go that edge. That person tells two tells four, it goes down the line. And it's like that you killed any business down the road, not only with him, but whoever he knows is going to tell.
Absolutely.
And that's always baffling.
Look, when something goes sideways, you got to do the right thing. Sometimes it's painful, but you're like, okay, listen, this didn't work out as we originally agreed to. Got to take it on the chin. We got to do the right thing, whether that means give him his money back, take the car back, compensate him some way. Got to do the right thing. And the guys that are like that are still around doing it. The guys who aren't, and the internet's deadly. The internet will expose you very, very quickly. If you're not what I call, if you're a bad actor.
Yeah, it's going to find you.
Yeah, it's going to find you. So I tell everyone, look, just go out there, do your thing, represent the car the proper way, and have your stats, if they're not, in order. I was just on the phone with one of the biggest guys on Instagram. He's got an unbelievable page, and he talks to me all the time. He calls me up. He's an independent, and he says, "Hey, Chris, give me some stats on this car. I just picked it up, and it's an older car, a 328, a 355, a 360. How many were produced in this one?" And I looked at it. I said, "It's the only one." He goes, "You're kidding me." I said, "No, the only one." He said, "Wow." He goes, "That changes a lot." I said, "Sure,
it does.
But it's good because I want to see him do well, because he helps drive the market.
Yeah.
So the more people that get aligned, and it's good for everyone when it happens. But when you look at, certain sales, and I know there's been a lot of talk online about, some of the sales on some of the online platforms, we talked about it earlier, that aren't real, they're artificial. That's unfortunate. And I know that for sure it is accurate that these things have happened. I've seen, and in black and white, from people have shown me things, or, shared the story with me. And, it's not a made up, it's not speculation. Why does that happen? But then you'll see a case in point at MECUM's Indianapolis sale. he had that titanium Enzo
Yes.
with about 3,800 miles on it. That just didn't have a good result, because that car definitely should have did more, just based on the results that we see. That was May, and now you're looking at what happened a week ago in Palm Beach, Pebble Beach. If you look at those numbers, if that same exact car ran at Pebble Beach, it would have did millions more. Not a million, millions.
Yeah. Multiple.
So a lot of it's timing too. It's the same seller. It's the same, auction house. Everything is the same. It's timing. So that's another big thing. That's the thing I love about Kissimmee. It's the kickoff of the year. It's like, the same thing in NASCAR. Their biggest race is their first race of the year. The Daytona 500 is their first one. MECUM's biggest auction is that. And I've loved going, and traditionally for many, many, many years, I live right there in Florida. I work here in Nashville, but I live in Windermere, Florida, which is, literally 15 minutes away from Kissimmee. I went every year. And as time went on, and, Dana has quite the Ferrari collection, as you know. And then he started to move some collections, with the Rick Workman's collection, some of the cars from his collection. There was other cars that he was moving. And as time went on, it started to see some of the cars that he was moving. That's how the Bachmann collection got to MECUM, because he moved all of their American cars first. All the Corvettes, all the American cars he moved the year before. So it was natural that they were going to give him a look, and his business was growing, and we knew them from here because they were from Tennessee, obviously. And we serviced some of the vehicles in the collection. So we were familiar with them. I was familiar with the Bachmann family. I knew them for many, many, many years. So it worked out great, and it was the kickoff of the year. But that's really run it full speed. And everybody's been kind of chasing a lot of those numbers, especially the Enzo, right? The Enzo, the Enzo was a monster number, and nobody's come close to it. And there was the one at Broad Arrow, and it was the same actual buyer that bought the one at Kissimmee that purchased that car. But everybody's chasing that, right? So that's the number, right? We all want to go for that. And I get it. But you'll see cars, full circle now with the conversation. You'll see an Enzo that comes in, and if it's federalized, this is my opinion, just my opinion, I don't think a federalized car is worth as much as one that's unmolested. So it goes back to the painting story with the darts. It's got a story. Anytime something has a story, I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah.
That's just me. Now, a lot of the GTOs were all federalized that were here in the US. The very first thing that I do is unfederalize the car. It's from 1985. So it's 40 years old, plus 40 years. I unfederalize the car. I take everything that they put on that car out of it. I put it back to original. That's how you should want a car, as original.
Yeah, it was led to factory. Yep.
That's exactly how it should be. So that's why when people say it's an Enzo that was federalized, I say it hurts it. I've had people agree with me, and I've had people disagree with me. But no one disagrees with it has a story. And a story doesn't usually help it.
No.
I've never seen a story help it. Just my own 2 cents, but that's the way it is.
All right, we're going to wrap this up with one last question to you.
Shoot.
What would you buy right now? I mean, you don't have to be something crazy, but what's Chris Miele going to say? I love this car.
Any car?
Any car. I mean, it's Ferrari, hey, if it is, but if it's something else, I mean, what would you go out to get to keep and to enjoy, but think, okay, you know what, I'm also buying this probably because it's going to appreciate. But what?
I got to answer this 2 ways. A Ferrari or any other car? What do you want to know the answer to?
We'll do Ferrari, since we're talking Ferraris.
Okay. I would say it's tough. It's like, what's your favorite kind of food?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to break it down a couple different ways. I'm going to break it down. What car would I buy from each decade? How's that sound?
There we go. That works.
Okay, so from the 50s, hands down, a PF Cabriolet Series 1.
Okay.
From the 60s, this is tough. It's between a 250 short wheelbase and a 275 GTB alloy.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
4 cam though,
Yeah.
because they only made 16. The 70s, for sure, a Daytona Spider or a 365 GT4 BB. The 80s, it's a no-brainer. It's the GTO and the F40.
Mm-hmm.
The 90s, this is kind of unique. The 90s, for sure, an F50, but probably a 550 WSR, which we have one here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, we have a world speed record here.
Oh, wow.
So they only made 33 of those. We have one here. From the 2000s, for sure, a Challenge Stradale. And the other car that would be in the 90s too, honestly, would be an F512M. I love that car.
Yeah, it's a great car. I love those too.
Love it. But from the 2000s, a Challenge Stradale, probably a Scuderia. But you have to throw the Enzo in there as well, right?
Yeah.
You can't, skip over the Enzo, right?
No.
In the teens, you got a bunch. You got the LaFerrari. You have 458 Speciale.
Mm-hmm.
And 2019 at the end, you had the Pistas, right? So I love the Pista. I think that's another great car. And now, you got the TDF in there as well. And now, going forward, 2020s,
Wow.
you got to put the Competizione Aperta. But the common thing I'm saying on every car, they're either limited production or they're numbered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even when you go back to like a 365 GT4 BB or a Daytona Spider, 122 Daytona Spiders, 387 365 GT4 BBs. Everything I'm saying is limited production. So it's all in the numbers. If you said, Chris, pick one car as a daily driver right now, you're going to use it every single day. Radio, AC, I'd go with a 550 Maranello because it's a real true GT front engine V12 Ferrari. Because for the longest time, up to the 365 Boxer, they weren't, the engine wasn't in the back, it was up front. So for me, I love that car. We bought a real special one, obviously, that we were out there, and I chased it, and I'm still chasing a few other ones. So for me, I think that that's a great car. The 575 is great as well, but it's such a limited amount of cars that they made in a manual gearbox. The car was designed as, a paddle shift car. The 599s, as you know, they made, a limited production of those. They made, 31 for North America. A lot of people think that's the world count. It's 31 for North America, 29 for the US, and 2 for Canada. About 63 or 64, I got to look again, for the world total. That is an awesome car, but it has a 550, 575 gearbox.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that in the manual. Not in the paddle cars, but they had to go ahead and put a different gearbox in that car. So that's why I like it so much. I just think it all starts with the 550. Look, in today's terms, it's, just under 500 horsepower or in that 500 range. You're right there. It's a super cool car, but, it's not a beast,
No, you can drive it.
But it's just a
It's not
cool
gonna kill
car.
you.
You get in it. As long as it's firing, ice chips out of the vents on a high day, you got your radio going. The real radio, the real sound is obviously the exhaust on the car.
Yeah.
And I love them. I always tell people on that car, and like I said, I'm not a big fan of aftermarket stuff. I don't consider mufflers really aftermarket. Ferrari evolved that quite a bit, with the Manatino, where you can change the sound. But on the earlier cars, you couldn't. If you get a car and you put a set of tubies on it and you just go out and cruise, your car is awesome.
Yes, it is.
And
I agree.
I've had them as demos over the years, going back 20 years ago. I was driving them, home from work, and I just used to get in the car and put a smile on my face and just kind of cruise, up the Garden State Parkway in New Jersey, and I'd have fun. And I loved them. I really did. I mean, I really, really,
It's a nice way
really
to
loved
end
that
your
car.
day.
Yeah, it is, right? Just cruise, right? But yeah, that's it. But we got some cool stuff to show. We got cool Maranellos here, bunch of TDFs, couple F50s, couple GTOs, F40s. I mean, I'm focused on it. The store's focused on it. So we're one of the dealers that are out there. There's a couple others, but we're definitely one of the ones that for sure are super in tune with it. And I don't think there is another dealer, I know for sure, not in North America on this side of the globe, that is, focused as much on what we're doing at the factory and overseas. There's some dealers in Europe that do the same as us, but I don't think there's anyone doing it more than us. Matter of fact, I know there's.
No, I would agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what's very unique and what's fantastic about this dealership itself. It's what it's doing all around is just incredible.
Yeah.
Like I made the statement before, like when we first came in here yesterday and you showed us around, it was eye-opening because you just don't see this at any other dealership.
Yeah.
And then your involvement, what you do, getting out there. I mean, it's very awesome to see that you guys are so active.
Yeah.
And it's great for the customers too that come here because they know that they are going to be taken care of and they're going to be getting what the service they should be getting.
Yeah, it's a big thing. And look, the truth is, and you always got to throw a plug for your team, right?
Yeah.
So we got a great team here. They do an amazing job. Tom has a great team. He runs the store. I kind of, I got the VP role, so I'm kind of out and about. But we work together as an amazing team. And the biggest credit I always say is, everybody is always worrying about CSI and reviews and, all these different things that you gauge online. Our Google reviews, I think we got close to 700 of them, and we're still a 5.0.
That's impressive. That's good.
Yeah. So we take everyone that comes in here. We do tours every single day. We don't let anybody just kind of walk around and ignore them. Everybody that comes in, we treat it as a potential buyer. I don't care if the guy pulls up and what's the name of the race that you guys do? What's the name of it?
Oh, the 24 hours of lemons. Yeah.
So I don't care if he comes up with one of the 24 hours of lemons cars. We treat everybody as if it's like your mom or dad. Now, unless you hate your mom or dad, it should be pretty easy to give them a tour. Yeah. So we try to say, hey, listen, you never know. And the truth is, we've given tours to people, and this is Tennessee. Pickup truck, cowboy boots.
Yeah, you never know.
You just don't know. They come back later in the day, cleaned up with the missus. You're like, wait a second, this is the guy that was here earlier.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I was on my way home from the farm or whatever. Yeah, I'll take 2 cars. I want one and she wants one. It's happened. So, Tennessee's a little bit of a unique town. So we treat everybody exactly the same. And you see it a lot with the entertainers. We have plenty of, people in that industry, country music stars that come in here. And, again, they're regular people. They just got a gifted, beautiful voice.
Yes.
But they're regular people. And they come in and, we give them the tour. We get the athletes, obviously, because of our involvement with the Predators, the hockey team, Coach Saban, obviously, with college football and the NFL. And, and then all the other people that we have with the connections of the ownership here. So it's been a fun ride and the journey is going to continue. And like we said, the wind is behind a lot of the cars and it's going to be a unique ride. It really is going to be fun. It's fun to be part of the journey.
That's awesome. So that's it, guys. We appreciate you watching. Remember, hit that like and subscribe. And as you heard it, we're in a heat wave and it's going to keep getting hotter. So keep watching. Appreciate it, everyone. Take care.